Hi everyone, Susan Elias here. Today I want to show you how you can make your own jean vest. Still a very popular item from the 70s to now. Very relevant piece. Both male and female love this vest. I also see that a lot of your YouTube videos that no one's actually showing you how to make it from scratch. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you the flat pattern method and I'm going to show you the draping method. And here we go. Let me show you how it's done. Okay, now I want to show you how we map out the design, the jean vest, actually on the mannequin. First I want to show you the middle part of this placket will be the center front, meaning this goes a little extended over the center front. So there's the first line, which is the center front. If I peel it back a little bit further, you see the first princess line, which is right there. Peel it back a little bit further, you see the second princess line, which is right there. This will be the side seam, which is the side seam of the vest as well. And as I peel it back in the back, you see that this is the princess back line and then the center back line. I had to put a thread marker on the center back so we can get a true indication of the fit and how it's equal on both sides on the actual jean vest. So after I've mapped it out like this, I'm going to show you how we do a couple of processes with the flat pattern on the table before I show you the actual muslin draping method. Now I'm seated here ready to show you the flat pattern method, but before I do that I want to show you how the seam is actually sewn so you can understand the seam allowance that's needed. I took apart my jean jacket about 1.5 inches so you could see that, and over here you can see that the top seam is turned under with the seam allowance and the back seam is turned under with the seam allowance. Believe it or not, in an industrial machine, you can do this in one step, meaning they have a double needle machine with special folding devices to fold the fabric back and do the double stitch at the same time. If you wanted to do it in a home sewing situation, it would take you a 3-process seam, which is a flat felled seam that you would have to do. First sew them wrong sides together and then tuck both of the seam allowances under and do the top stitching one at a time. Now I'm at the table, I'm going to show you the flat pattern method, which is the most effective in the pattern making industry to copy this jean vest. The first thing I did is take my pattern making paper, as you can see right here. I have 1.5 inches, which is the placket width. I folded back 1.5 inches, and then I actually gave another 1/2 inch for seam allowance. So that I have laying flat. And I'm going to put the actual jean vest up, mesh against that fold line right now, and I'm going to tack it down with my tacks like this. All the way down. We're going to do one section at a time. We're going to do this little section right here first. After I tack it down, you want to make it as flat as possible. Open up any flaps on pockets, etc., so that you can see what's going on. Now, if you have a garment you're not going to wear again, or it doesn't really matter if it's just for the purposes of copying, you can use this long prong tracing wheel. But if you do want to wear that jacket and you don't want it damaged in any way, you have to use the pin, just a straight long pin like I have this. And all you would be doing is going along the actual design lines about 1/8 inch away from each other and make little holes, so the indication of a line that you need to fill in with your pen. I'm going to go all the way along the waistband like this. I'm going to go all the way up this side of the seam like this. And this placket is duplicated on the pocket, which is kind of nice. It's a nice little detail. I'm going to go all the way here, and so I know where it actually ends. I'm going to move the pocket flap over, and I'm going to put a pin mark all the way across the top yoke of the front, all the way across to the center front. And there you go. After that, I'm going to take these push pins off, move this away, and you should have some indication of a line that you can draw in with your rulers. And you just take whatever ruler is needed for that curve or that line. And I'm going to take my hip curve that I have here, I'm just going to draw in real quick the lines for this jean vest, center front princess line. I'm just going to try to follow them as much as I possibly can, whether it curves in or out like that. We always said that the bottom of this has to be perpendicular for 1/4 inch. We're going to go right there, and we're going to go straight, and we have to have it perpendicular for about 1/4 inch here as well. But I know that the top placket is kind of on a curve, so I'm going to use my curve ruler as well, like that. And then we're just going to put seam allowance. I like to be safe and give 1/2 inch, even though some of these seams, like most of these seams, are going to have a 1/2 inch. Actually, you're going to have 2 1/2 inch seam allowances in order to make that flap over pattern stitching. I'm going to go ahead and put myself 1/2 inch back here as well. And on the side seams, I'm going to put in 1/2 inch. And we know that we have to have another 1/2 inch for the seam allowance to be hidden. I'll go ahead and do that now. And I'm just going to cut that out with my paper scissor. So here's your first section right there. And what's nice about putting it in paper instead of muslin on the flat is that you already have an exact pattern. So if there's any discrepancies, it's a lot better to have it on paper so that there won't be any movement of shrinking of the muslin if you're ironing it. So that's the first section. I'm going to put it just number 1 like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the second section. I have another piece of paper here. I put in my grain line, which is always important, in the center of this piece. I'm going to lay it flat, and I'm going to go to the second princess seam. And what I'm going to do with it as well is I'm going to try to eye without making a mark on here. You can pull a grain on a garment, that doesn't matter so much. So I'm going to kind of pull a grain here lightly so you can see where the center line is on that. I'm going to fold it back, put it right on that line, and then I'm going to tack it before it moves straight on that line. So we have this tacked down. I'm removing the pocket again, getting it out of the way. So everything is tacked down. Put as many tacks as you need on the outside of the princess line or the inside to keep it as flat as possible. Again, I'm going to use my straight pin, and I'm going to go ahead and go right on the design line, 1/8 inch apart, all the way down. This folds over this way, so I'm going to actually go there first in the inside. And I know that underneath is 1/2 inch and another 1/2 inch on top of that to hide the seam. That's a little bit of the tricky part of this whole procedure, really, is just the seams. Now that I've already trued the lines, put in the seam allowances and the extra seam allowance needed for the fold over, you have the pieces like this here. I have the center front placket and its seam allowance, and I've got number 2 as well. So number 1 is turned back, as you can see, like that, and number 2 is turned to the right side so that it can be encased. And I'm going to go ahead and put this together like this with the pins, just so you can see how it's done. And then I have number 3 would overlap number 2 and clean and encase this seam allowance that's showing on this side. So that's how it's done with the flat pattern method. Let me show you how to do the draping method now.